My name is Chris Hanazik. I worked at a lot of different open source companies or open source focused companies on all sorts of projects from Linux to Eclipse and so on. I used to do a lot of recruiting at campuses, and one question that came up a lot was, so how do I actually get involved in open source, right? Where can I start? What can I do? And I'm like, whoa, that's a pretty good question. Like, everyone has a different open source journey on how they get started. Especially during my days, as older folks, it was just like Usenet and maybe IRC, and there's a lot less projects. But these days, there's a lot more opportunities to get involved. And so this is just like a short little talk on what opportunities exist these days. First off, I'd like to highlight Google has an awesome program called Summer of Code. To me, it's the gold standard. There's 100+ different open source organizations from A to Z that participate, in this effort. So essentially, students get a $5,500 stipend and get matched up to an existing open source project that they get to work on over the summer. If they actually complete the project, Google flies them out to their campus, and there's kind of this whole summit. So it's an awesome way to kind of get involved, and it's a very formalized and structured way to kind of get started in open source. And this only happens once a year, and applications just open on March 14th, so it's like the perfect time to get involved. For those of us who are maybe a little bit younger, pre-university, ages 13 to 17, Google has another program called Google Code-In, which is focused on a smaller list of projects, but it's mostly focused on little bite-sized tasks that you can complete as a younger person. So highly recommend this one for folks that are a little bit on the younger side of things. Another great program, which was formerly known as Outreach Program for Women, but now is known as Outreachy, focuses on the, we got a fan in the audience, focuses on the underrepresented minorities and groups within open source and try to get those folks to participate with different projects. I've personally helped out and mentored with this system. It's awesome, so highly recommend it. The stipend is very similar to Google's, and this actually happens twice a year. So they kind of have a summer and winter term. The summer term is just starting, and applications close on the 22nd. So if you're interested, please apply. Another program that I personally haven't participated in but is pretty popular is Rails Summer of Code. The name obviously implies it got started out within the Rails community, but they actually support 40+ different projects now from all different languages. So this is another great opportunity for you to get involved in open source and actually get paid for it over the summer. Another program that's a little bit smaller, only a handful of universities participate in this, is Facebook has something called Open Academy, where essentially professors partner with certain open source projects and companies, and basically you take a class like you would in any class during the semester, and you get credit for working on open source. So it's super cool, but unfortunately not many universities participate in this. Another great way to get involved, when I grew up, there wasn't too many meetups and groups out there. There was just some like Linux user groups, but now there's, even universities have open source clubs. There's tons of Node.js meetups and so on. So university clubs, meetups are a great way to kind of get started to meet the community. Another thing that's kind of amazing these days, a lot of conferences actually have diversity scholarships and opportunities for you to apply and have them pay for your travel to a conference. For example, PyCon has a really great program for that. A lot of the Linux Foundation events like LinuxCon, MesosCon, and so on have diversity scholarship programs, and StrangeLoop is another one that has this. So take advantage of this if you can. Like, this is a great way to get involved, especially when you're a student. You're like, money's a little bit tighter. So another great way to get involved is there's these sites that have popped up that kind of present beginner issues. So sometimes people are very nice on GitHub or Bugzilla, whatever, and tag issues like beginner friendly or newbie friendly. Highly recommend checking these sites out. The two big popular ones are Up for Grabs and IssueHub that I've come across. So check them out. And finally, hopefully this information was useful to you. It doesn't really necessarily only apply to students, but hopefully it makes it a little bit easier for you to get started in open source. And for those of us who actually have been actively participating in the open source community for a while, please remember to pay it forward. Like, we were all students once, so anything you could do to kind of help someone out and make it easier for them to get started in their project is a huge thing. So thank you for your time, and I think that's 5 minutes.